Same place, same time, and we hope to see you then. Thanks to all the artists and dealers who came out as well. All right, host of the popular YouTube channel Swagglehaus, used to be Swagglehaus Comics, now it's just Swagglehaus. It's Swagglehaus himself. Let's give it up for Mickey. Oh, he's coming. He's coming.
Hello. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah? How's it going? How's it going? You guys doing good? Yeah? Thank you. It's awesome to be here. You know, before I get started, I do kind of want to say, you know, maybe we can give a little bit of a round of applause to, you know, the Shortbox team here. Gene over at Shortbox, yourselves, for putting on such a wonderful event, a wonderful con so far. It's been awesome. You guys have been having a lot of fun, right? Yeah? That's good, because I have not been having fun. Okay. Do you know how miserable it is to be at this amazing venue with these awesome books and these awesome people, and the whole time all you have to do is worry about giving a speech? It's been terrible. 3 p.m. start time. I spent the last 5 hours thinking about all the different ways I could fall and trip up these stairs. But I made it. I made it so far. So I can't be too, you know, upset. We have a lot more to go. But no, I'm honored to be here today. This is truly a privilege. It's very, very special that you know, Shortbox invited me to speak with you guys, share the stage, get to talk to you about, you know, comics. I start my speech a little bit in jest because in my professional life, outside of my YouTube channel, I work in film and entertainment, and I'm often behind the scenes. So that's my more natural state, is to not be present here on a stage. But I've always been a filmmaker, director, a storyteller. I also do a lot of screenwriting and animation. I work for a lot of big properties and a lot of nerdy stuff. So, you know, I love all of this, and it's been a wonderful time in my career. But, you know, outside of my professional career, I have this alias known as Swagglehaus, who is a storyteller in his own way, a little bit different. But he has a comic book YouTube channel where he talks about the hobby of comic book collecting. I kind of share my experience with people, and you know, oftentimes I point my channel from a perspective that is a little bit more of a savvy, prudent, sort of financial buying perspective. That's kind of how I often approach my comic collecting journey, and hopefully people enjoy it and appreciate it. And one of the things that's very, very cool about my channel is that I'm actually now at the point where I've hit 4 years of doing this. 4 years doing this on YouTube. How you speak about Jim Lee X-Men #1 in new and creative ways over the course of 4 years, I have no idea, but somehow I figured out how to do it. So I kind of felt like, you know, in the spirit of 4 years, and knowing that we're now in kind of May and June, and all across the country, there's a lot of people that are about to walk the stage and graduate. I kind of feel like my 4-year journey has been a little bit of a graduation itself. You know, I kind of feel like I've earned my comic book YouTube collecting degree. It's an arts degree, it's worthless, it probably cost me more money than it's actually going to ever yield for me, but at the same time, I feel like I have it. So I thought it might be kind of cool with, you know, having gone through this ringer, to kind of share with you guys, you know, some of the biggest things that I've personally learned in my comic collecting journey, and share with you guys, you know, the strongest, most potent informational pieces that I've gone throughout my process. And I've learned a lot because I've had the tremendous honor and privilege to be able to speak to, you know, some of the most amazing, smartest, most veteran comic book personalities and dealers all throughout our hobby. I mean, I talk to dealers all the time. I talk to people who are professional graders. I have a lot of interviews and interactions, and through osmosis, I've soaked in so much of this information. I've had, like, you know, a supercharged experience, just absorbing everything. So I kind of want to take you guys through a lot of the things that I've learned and have shared with my audience. You know, a lot of times I kind of take what I hear from them and I regurgitate it back to people in videos. I have to kind of take this professorial role, and as they say, you know, the best way to learn something is to actually teach it. So I feel like I've, you know, had that experience. I also definitely learn a lot of things because I have the knowledge that, you know, if I mess something up, someone is going to flame me in the comment section. Thousands of people will call me out for my lack of knowledge. So fear is a tremendous motivator to get you to understand something and not screw it up. So you guys know, in this video I said that Jack Kirby is not my favorite artist. I didn't love his blocking style, but he was not happy about that one. So, like I said, with my little framing of our conversation here today, I'm going to share with you guys the top 5 things that I've learned throughout my degree in comic book collecting. And hopefully, as I share this with you guys, I can give you honorary degrees because it's all fake anyways, and we can all kind of walk the stage together by the end of my presentation. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah. All right. So let's go with my first important lesson, which is buy what you like is wrong. Buy what you like is wrong. Sometimes. I know what you're thinking. How dare you say that? The greatest axiom within comic book collecting, buy what you like. That is the best North Star that everyone should follow. And I agree. I do think that, in general, it is good advice. But I do think that there's a little more nuance to buy what you like that we can have a conversation about. And I want to kind of share with you guys my thought process with that. I have a little bit of a revision, but before I kind of get there, let me explain to you what I mean by this. Now, we all kind of identify as collectors, I think, for the most part, right? Everyone is a collector, and we all kind of feel that way. And actually, before I go up to the slide, can I just ask from a show of hands, maybe just you guys can tell me, how many of you guys here sell comic books? Do any of you guys sell comic books? Okay, so a couple. Okay, so flip on the reverse side. How many people identify just mostly you're just a collector for the most part? Okay, more people identify as a collector. Okay, can I ask you guys, have you guys bought anything today? Yeah, some good stuff. Can I ask this? What do you plan to do with the comics? I mean, obviously you're going to take them home, you're going to enjoy them for a time. But then what are you going to do with it later on? Oh, you did? Oh, he picked up my comic. But are you going to take my comic book with you forever? Are you going to hold it forever? Or are you going to maybe one day throw the fish back into the sea? Throw it back to the sea, right? So we're all collectors until we're not. We'd love to think that all of the books that we have are eternal and forever, but the truth is, at some point, you're going to have to sell the stuff. And you may want to, get some money back into it. I mean, you don't have to buy your private island, but you may want to get some of that money back into it. Which brings us back to the mantra, the lesson. Buy what you like. I have a revision for this. And this is the one I want to leave you guys with. Buy what you, but mostly other people, like. Buy what you, but mostly other people like. And this is a very, very important thing. And I know what you're thinking to yourself, Mickey, do you have a ridiculous hypothetical scenario that could prove your point and make what you're saying here irrefutable? Why, yes, thank you. I have that exactly. Thank you for asking. Buy what you like. Buy what you, mostly other people like. Now, if you guys watch my YouTube channel, I am a big Darkhawk fan. Unironically, Darkhawk is my favorite character. We don't need to get into it. Okay, I'll spare you that story for another time. But sometimes I have the fantasy. I wake up one day and I think to myself, how awesome would it be if I got an email today? Somebody said to me, hey Mickey, I just found 1,000 copies of Darkhawk #1, and I'm willing to sell them to you for the low price of $15 a pop, the going rate. And I think to myself, I do like Darkhawk #1. I could buy it. And it would be a hilarious video, and it would be a fun time. I would definitely enjoy Scrooge McDucking in my 1,000 copies of Darkhawk #1. I could lay on it, make a nice Darkhawk pillow. That would be a lot of fun. But in reality, would it really be the best decision for me to make? Is buy what you like in this instance really the best thing you could do, knowing that with that $15,000 to $20,000 I would spend on it could get me something like an AF-15? Is it really the best financial decision? I mean, maybe you can't really measure, the love and enjoyment that I would get from swimming in Darkhawk 1s. Maybe that's invaluable, but I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if this scenario ever actually happens for me, please walk me off the ledge, and please instruct me to buy the AF-15. And why should I buy the AF-15? Well, obviously, guys, obviously, because the AF-15 is the first appearance of Spider-Man, and more people like Spider-Man. That's just the case. And there's gonna, like I said to the point at the beginning of this, there's gonna be a time when you have to sell your comic book. And I know full well, without even having to go through the scenario, that selling 1,000 copies of Darkhawk #1 is going to be a heck of a lot harder than moving one copy of AF-15. So buy what you, but mostly other people like. This is kind of my little decision matrix flow chart here, you know? Just for context, I do like Spider-Man. I love it. So I kind of use this as like there's kind of a Goldilocks zone that I think is very helpful for a lot of people to consider when they're buying. Again, of course, buy what you like. Go ahead and buy a Darkhawk #1, but sometimes you may want to consider, you know, what is the Goldilocks window that, yeah, I like this, but other people like it as well. And this is the type of things I think is important to kind of teach yourself and educate yourself with, which is to understand, well, what do other people like in the comic book market? And luckily, there's a lot of things that people like. I mean, there's a lot of different things. You know, everyone has different tastes. There's vintage stuff, there's modern variants, there's Marvel, there's DC, there's indie, etc. But I think the more that you can educate yourself for what other people like, the better off you may be when that inevitable day comes when you gotta pass it on. Now, this doesn't also just apply to kind of, you know, obscure, hilarious, hypothetical situations, Darkhawk versus Spider-Man. This can also apply to, you know, situations where you could be getting the same book. Now, you might be someone who, you know, I don't mind that this X-Men cover is a little bit faded. I don't mind that. Buy what you like, right? It doesn't bother you. But you should understand that other people will care. Other people do mind. You know, here's two different sales of X-Men 1, same grade, same page quality, virtually the same book. One's a little color faded, one's a little bit not. And you can see that the price difference on when it was actually sold was $900. Now, it might be a situation where, okay, you know, you're buying a book, and yeah, maybe the color faded one is selling for a little bit less. Maybe it's $50 less, $100 less. You're here at the show, two different books. You should still do the same exercise of figuring out, well, what are the other people gonna like? You know, or will other people have concerns about this? Because one day you might decide to sell. Similarly, I'm somebody who I never really liked or cared about newsstands. To be honest, I still don't really like or care about newsstands, but I did change my tune a little bit throughout my process of learning what I did on YouTube, where now if I am in a situation where there's two second appearances of Gambit in a bin, and there's a difference between a direct edition versus a newsstand, I probably will pull the newsstand, especially if they're priced around the same one. That's the one I'll buy, because I just know that even though I don't care about it, other people do, and the prices will reflect that. Last example, CBCS, CGC. You may not care about which grading company grades your books, but other people do. And that can be reflected in the price in a tremendous way. You have two different books selling in the same auction back to back, and a massive, massive difference. So, leaving you guys with this idea of buy what you like, but also consider what other people like, I think it's something that is very valuable, very helpful throughout your comic collecting journey to think about. There's all these different types of things, you know. You may not care about page quality, some people do. You may not care that your 9/8 has one spine tick on it. When you go to sell it, someone might care. You know, and these are all the things that you have to sort of consider throughout your journey. And I found that information very, very helpful. As one dealer once said to me, buy something as if you had to sell it. So this is sort of my spin, which is buy what you, but mostly other people like. All right, let's move on now to lesson number 2. And lesson number 2 is no comic is rare. Not even rare comics. Okay, some comics are rare. Guy in the back didn't agree. Some comics are rare. If anyone has a Suspense 3, let me know. But most are not, in truth. Most are not. So I'm willing, for the sake of this lesson, to stand on this statement. No comic is rare. Plus, this is also a little more edgy of a thing to say. I don't want to think most comics are not rare. That's not as cool. This is way more inflammatory. No comic is rare. So let's talk about this for a second. As somebody who spends a lot of time doing YouTube and covering auctions, watching, constant claim sales, going to different cons, visiting different dealers, going to stores all of the time, reporting on this stuff, big transaction sales, things that, everything that there is in comic books. I gotta say, I see every single book all of the time. It is always for sale. Everybody, even the rare ones, even like Golden Age books, that are like, oh, this is so rare. You don't see this one anymore. You don't see this book come around that often. I do see them if you pay attention. And so this is the thing, that you have to understand is that if you haven't found the book that you're looking for, you just need to look harder or maybe wait a little bit longer because I promise you it's going to show up. We live in a world, a e-commerce world that has completely changed how everything is in comic book collecting. Back in the day, it might have been true that if you went into your LCS, it would be a miracle if any of these amazing wall books were there. I mean, even to this day, actually, if you go into your comic store and there's like a giant size X-Men #1, it's actually a pretty big win. It's like, oh my God, they have a giant size X-Men #1. But that doesn't necessarily apply to online now, where you have all of these places where you can find all of these books all of the time. And there's so many companies and so many businesses that are invested into the comic book hobby and the industry that they are kind of getting people motivated to actually flesh these books out. Now, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this stuff. Obviously, Shortbox is the best place to buy from. Don't buy from any other platforms, but if you do, it behooves you as a collector to be aware of the other selling platforms because a better deal or the book you're actually looking for may just be one finger click away. Now, I want to kind of drive this point a little bit home and just kind of show you some interesting examples, things that I've kind of found as I was prepping for this. I got Spawn #1 up here. You guys know Spawn #1, first appearance of Spawn. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of just take a look and see okay, well, how many of these books have sold, within 4 window time periods over the last 10 to 12 years or so. So 9/8 here, 11,845. That's how many are on the census. And I pulled up, okay, how many of these 9/8 have sold, in a 4-year window of 2012 to 2015? We had 648. Kind of a lot. And then the next 4 years, how many sold? 1,941. And then the next 4 years, where we are today, how many sold? 3,554. Now, it's possible that there's more collectors, that there's more interest. Maybe there's some Freakonomics stuff going on where more books have been sent in, therefore there's more on the census, therefore more people are buying it, therefore the number is higher, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that I think that selling comic books has never been more accessible to people nowadays, and people can find it. So there's going to be a higher volume for a lot of books. Now, I know you're thinking Spawn #1 is kind of a comic book, so, certainly that's the case for a modern book, but that wouldn't be the case for something like a Superman #1, right? Superman #1, fantastic old age book, the first series for Superman. So I did the same exercise. 183 on the census. 2014 through 2017, how many sales? 28. Whoop. 2018 through 2021, 38 sales. I mean, it's not a lot of sales, but 20 to 30% more. And now where are we at? 2022 through projected out 2025, we still have a year and a half to go. How many times has this book sold? 34 times. So we're definitely going to get, to the 40 plus range for this book. Kind of interesting. All right, but I know what you're thinking. 183, that's nothing. That's nothing, Mickey. Let's take a real rare book. Punch Comics #12. You guys know this one? Fantastic skull cover. Wonderful pre-code horror, pre-crime book. Kind of rides the line between the two of them. Only 37 books on the census for this one. Really, really hard to find. A grail for a lot of people. All right, let's take a look. 2012 through 2015, only 6 sales. Not a lot. Hard to find. 2016 through 2019, even less, 5 sales. All right. 2020 through 2023, 16. Still not a lot, but 3 times as many. That's kind of interesting. Now, again, some Freakonomics stuff going on here. We've had a tremendous increase in prices things have gone up. People are more motivated to sell if they have an equitable position. If all of a sudden your comic is worth 5 times as much, yeah, you probably would sell it too. So that could be going on here. But I'll get around to selling it some other time. They now have it really easy to do it. So I think that rare comic books are going to be less rare overall. All right. Lesson number 3. It's going to be a doozy, guys. Comics can be good, but also terrible investments. It really just depends. Oh, there he did it. I said the I word, guys. I'm sorry. I said the I word. I said the investment thing. I can already feel my comment section. You're getting mad at me. Comics are meant to be read. I know. I get it. But we got to talk about this. We have to talk about this. Here's why. I get a lot of messages from people. I get a lot of emails, DMs, all the time. Hey, Mickey, I'm thinking about buying this book. Do you think it's a good investment? Hey, Mickey, I think of getting this book or maybe getting this book. Which do you think would be a better investment? People ask me this stuff all the time because people are interested in it. And I get it because people are spending a lot of money on some of these comic books and they want to know that they're getting the right price. Now, unfortunately for them, I often don't give them my answer. I certainly have my thoughts and I have my own convictions, but I'm not their financial advisor. So I usually tell them I don't know because the truth is I actually don't know. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. I can't actually predict where comic books are going to go. But the truth of it is they pry a little bit more, and so I kind of hit them with a very, very unsatisfying answer, which is to say, well, it depends. It really all just depends. All right, how many of you guys are familiar with the thought experiment of Schrodinger's cat? You guys know this one? You guys know? Okay, a couple people know. All right, well, if you don't know, Erwin Schrödinger was a physicist, and he came up with this thought experiment. And he asked himself the question, what if he had a cat, and he put it in a box, and he also put a deadly, poisonous contraption in that box as well. And after 1 hour, the box had a 50% chance to open up, thus killing the cat, or not killing the cat if it didn't actually open up. So then he asked, okay, after 1 hour, what is the state of the cat? Well, 50% chance. It's either alive or it's either dead, right? But you don't actually know until the moment in which you open the box. So what he concluded through this idea of superposition is that the cat can actually live in 2 simultaneous states at the same time. It's both alive and it is both dead, all at the same time. I know you guys are thinking, like, what does this have to do with comic books? This is ridiculous, okay? This is some of the stuff that I tried to do on my channel from time to time. I made a video talking about Schrodinger's comic book. And I kind of use this as an analogy to talk about the same thing as it relates to comics as investments. You don't actually know if a comic is a good investment until the point in which you buy it and the point in which you sell it. It all really just depends. The only thing that matters is what you buy it for and what you sell it for. And that's the only way that you'll actually know if a thing was a good investment. I went over to Reddit and I just Googled this. This is just one of the first ones that came up. And this person had a day. Found a bunch of old comics at a garage sale this weekend, was told to share. And you guys can see what's there, right? At the top, ASM 129, first appearance of Punisher. That price is right. That's what he said. He said he paid 25 bucks, went to a garage sale and bought first appearance of Punisher. And I'm sure there were a lot of other goodies in there as well. Now, I don't know what the grade is for that book, but I'll tell you this. That was the best $25 that person ever invested. I can promise you that, whether it's a 1.0 or a 9.8. That guy had a massive come up. Now, somebody else also bought this book. And unfortunately for them, they bought it at the height of the market, April 26th of 2021. They bought it when things were going super, super hot. Unfortunately for them, they paid $3,600 for their 8.0 copy, which in today's values go for $1,735. So they lost 50% of their value on their purchase. Now, it's possible that over time, maybe the comic will go back up. I have no idea. I have no clue. And then, of course, if it does go back up, we're talking about opportunity cost and a lot of like nerdy stuff. We don't need to go into all that. But the point I'm making with this is that here you have two people buying the same exact comic book, and for one of them, it was a great investment, and for the other one, it was a terrible investment, at least for the time being. Now, that's what I call superposition. Book living in two simultaneous states all at the same time. And then this is the kind of last thing I want to leave you guys with in terms of this investing aspect. One thing that's important to point out is that most people who are successful in comic books operate really under this pretense of short-term gains and arbitrage. If you guys know what arbitrage is, it basically means to buy something from one market and sell it in another. So today I go to the show and I find a Punisher, first appearance Punisher for $25, and then I go on to sell it on eBay. That's arbitrage. I'm able to take instant profit on a comic book. That's what most people do. That's why all these dealers that you see here are driving Lambos and Ferraris. That's what they do. They buy the collections and then they sell it for hire. That's how they're successful. The short-term gain arbitrage kind of situation. And so when comic books can be good and bad investments all at the same time, it really all just depends. This is usually the winning formula for a lot of people, but it's an active way to do it. You have to put in effort. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what to buy. You got to be obsessed with it. You got to go to set up at shows, and you have to know ultimately when to sell. Which brings us to lesson number 4. Pay for a price guide. Pay for a price guide, but not overstreet. I'm sorry, overstreet. No disrespect, but don't shoot the messenger here. This is just me relaying back what I've learned. Ask the dealers here if any of them use overstreet to price their books today. I promise you they didn't. But I digress. Pay for a price guide. Why do you need to pay for a price guide? Because as the great philosopher Fat Joe said, yesterday's price is not today's price. This works both ways. Comics are in constant flux. Everything is different. Something could be higher today, something could be lower today. A lot of books are actually lower today. And I'm actually amazed. I get a lot of messages from people that will hit me up and will say, hey, Mickey, I just bought them, and ask them, hey, why did you buy it at that? What were you thinking? Do you have actually a pricing service? And they'll tell me that they actually don't. This has happened a couple times to me. And so I'm always so surprised. Someone would spend 5 figures on a comic book and not spend $10 for a month to have a pricing guide to know what they're buying is a good price. And so it's always kind of shocking to me that people would do that. So I very much encourage that if you're into this and you do this for a long time and you're into the hobby, even if you don't spend a ton of money, it really behooves you to use one of the pricing services. I'm not affiliated to any of these ones, but these are 3 ones that are great. In case you guys don't know about them, Go Collect, GPA, Analysis, Cover Price. They all have their pros and cons. They're all good in their own ways. Nothing is perfect, but I definitely recommend that at least one of them you guys end up picking up. And if you really can't be troubled to pick up one of them, at the very least, eBay sold listings is a way to check. Heritage auctions, you can make an account, you can check their sold things. And now, Shortbox, again, they're doing the work for you, which is surprising because part of this is that most people are not going to do the work for you. Most dealers are not going to tell you what a good deal is. It's up to you to figure that out. So the only way you can figure that out is to pay for a pricing service. And just know, pricing guide is a guide. It's not gospel. So even then, it's still going to take some work for you to navigate this process. So something very, very important. All right. Final lesson. Lesson number 5. This is maybe the most important one, maybe the most nuanced, complex, but let's talk about it together. Get involved and lend a hand. A two-parter. Different things to this. Let's kind of unpack it. I want to start with lend a hand first. I've been showing you guys examples of people that reach out to me, and this is something I think is really, really important. There are a lot of new comic book collectors all of the time that at least watch my channel or reach out to me. They always say, hey, it's a new collector, which is surprising. A lot of people kind of feel like in the hobby that there's no new collectors, but anecdotally, at least in my experience, I find that there are a lot of them. And they have very, very, very simple questions. Things that we all kind of take for granted. They'll just ask me, how do you bag and board a comic book? Like that basic. But that kind of information is very, very useful and important for people. I have to remind myself that I could probably make a YouTube video that's how to bag and board your comic books, and that ultimately might be so much more helpful than any of the nuanced points we've talked about today for a lot of people. So there's a lot of people that need your help, and it's really important to lend a hand to someone in the community, and it can be kind of difficult because, lost it there. Oh, forget it. It can be kind of difficult because there's a lot of people in the hobby that often are, let's say, have a hard exterior, can be jaded, can be tough to talk with. You know, a lot of people are not so open to helping new people. There's a lot of snark sometimes online, and you have to kind of overcome that. I'll share a quick story, just because I'm sick and sardonic, and I think it's hilarious and sad at the same time. I was one time at a comic book show, and I saw this little kid. He was like 8 years old, and he like went up to this dealer, and he asked the dealer, "Hey, do you have this Spider-Man?" And I think it was like a new Spider-Man, like, you know, a new series, like Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that. And the dealer just stone cold face, just looked at the kid, 7 years old, and was just, no. And then went like that. And I was just, I mean, I laughed in my head because it was like so mean. Like, you know, it was almost, you know, like from a TV show. But at the same time, it was pretty sad because it's like, oh, this could have been a good opportunity for him to lend a hand and say, you know, hey, I don't have that. Here's, you know, this booth over there that does modern. Oh yeah, I do vintage stuff. Let me talk to you about vintage comic books, and hey, maybe you like old Spider-Man. And this is really, really important. This is really important for our hobby to be successful. In order for us to, you know, have a thriving community, you have to make friends, as I was doing this slide. You have to kind of put yourself out there and extend it to other people and pay it forward. A little bit of delay. Last little thing, get involved. You know, yesterday was Free Comic Book Day, and I thought this was really interesting. I came across this article. The guy who started Free Comic Book Day actually had a comic store in Concord, I believe. And actually, it's kind of sad because it's actually closing. But I wanted to bring this up because Free Comic Book Day was something that he created. I didn't know that. I thought it was something that Marvel created or DC created or, you know, one of the big publishing companies, something like that. But it was actually just a guy who had a comic book store that, of course, wanted to do something that would market his business, but, you know, ultimately he did it just to get people out there. And Free Comic Book Day has been a massive success. It's a way to get young kids into the hobby and to really pull people in a fantastic way. And I've kind of been critical of Marvel and DC a little bit on the publishing side of things. I think, you know, while I don't believe comic books are dying, I will say that because they haven't been the, you know, figureheads of the industry to reach out to the community and build community, I think that that's actually the biggest problem that is facing comic books right now, is the barrier to entry for young people and the lack of education. You know, I think it's very, very hard hobby to get into. And I just pulled up this article just to make a point. It's from 2012, where Marvel initiates Social Media Fan Appreciation Day. This picture is blurry because the website is broken. So the point is, obviously Fan Appreciation Day doesn't exist anymore, you know, it's from 2012. So I'm kind of over, you know, Marvel and DC doing this, and I kind of implore it with you guys as far as my mantra, get involved and lend a hand, is that it really takes the people in the community, people like a short box that says they want to just put together a great event, to really pass the hobby forward. That's the most important thing. You know, comics is a wonderful hobby. I've met amazing people in it. I've had an amazing time doing it. And it would be a shame to not pass it on to the younger generation, which is up to everyone in this room to do so. Oh, there we go. All right, congratulations. You guys just went through a crash course of comic book collecting degree, what took me 4 years, maybe more, in my collecting, but 4 years at least on YouTube to learn. You guys learned in 20 to 30 minutes, so not bad, not bad. So you guys are all now honorary graduates with me. We're all going to walk the stage together. So, you know, by the power vested in me, the state of California, I now pronounce you guys graduates of comic book collecting. So there you go. Clap it up, you know. Here, here. You guys have a valueless art degree. But yes, I'm Mickey. I'm Swagglehaus. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about comic book collecting, and I recently graduated, with my BA here. Hopefully, I can work towards my master's. Maybe I'll get a doctorate. If you guys want to follow me on that journey, you can follow my YouTube and learn more about that. And I thought I would maybe open it up to a Q&A, but we don't have to do that. Probably have to get off the stage. So, I'll be around the show if you guys have questions off stage. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for attending, and thank you, Shortbox, for having me on this day. It was a wonderful event, and I'm honored to have spoken at it. So thank you.